Greetings Indie Warriors, and welcome back to I Dream of Indie Games. I'm Old Gamer Joe, and let's take some deep breaths everybody before we get started. I hope you brought your patience with you for today's video, because we're listing off some of the best obscure indie precision platformers for PC and console. Before we kick things off, a quick disclaimer to get out of the way here. If you don't see your favorite precision platformer on this list, Celeste, Super Meat Boy, we know what you're thinking. It's because we're really trying to hone in on less discussed games that flew under everyone's radar. We also have a fairly extensive collection of indie game lists for you to check out, which just might include these games already, including our ongoing series of the best indie games of all time. So no hard feelings, and be sure to check out our top 10 playlist. Let us know in the comments which precision platformers we may have missed as well. Who knows, they may end up in a future video. But before we get into all of these excellent releases, we have a very fitting sponsor for today's video. It's Red Art Games. High-octane precision platformer Jubilee is heading to consoles for the very first time. That's right, Red Art Games is bringing the game to digital storefronts on Nintendo Switch, PS5, Xbox Series X and S, PS4, and Xbox One on February 9th. And if that wasn't sweet enough, a physical PS5 version of the game will be available on the Red Art Games website, which I'll have a link to in the description box below. Known for its excellent, tight mechanics and non-linear exploration, Jubilee will have you facing perilous challenges, holding your breath on every single jump. There are no upgrades here and no power-ups. Jubilee is all about skill, so don't expect the game to go easy on you. Its adorable pixel art calls back to simpler days of gaming, and you'll need to rescue cute animals that are scattered across each level. Players will even have the option of a speedrun timer available if they wish to challenge themselves further, and there's more fun unlockables that I won't spoil for you here, but they are going to add to the replay value, so be aware of that. Of course, any platformer lives and dies by its mechanics, and that's where Jubilee truly shines. If you decide to grab the deluxe edition for your PS5 through the Red Art Games website, you'll also receive not only a physical copy of the game, but a double-sided poster just like the 90s days, reversible box art, stickers, and an exclusive sleeve. Be warned though, this version is extremely limited, so you'll need to act quickly by heading down to the link below in our description box. Support a solo developer today and add yet another precision platformer to your ever-growing collection. You can thank me later. Once again, a very special thank you to Red Art Games for sponsoring this week's video. Please consider using the links in our description box below to nab yourself a copy of Jubilee today. Alright, that's gonna do it for our sponsor. Thank you again, Red Art Games. On to number 10. Uh-oh, somebody arted in here. At number 10, we have Splasher, a 2D platformer where you're armed with a splatter cannon instead of a gun, and you'll have to use the unique types of ink you acquire to jump, bounce, and stick your way to glory. The game takes place in a paint factory led by the evil Doctor, and it's up to you to defeat him and bring harmony to Ink Corp once again. Splasher even has leaderboards to add to the challenge and the competitive spirit of the game. Plus, developer Splash Team features the incredibly talented Romain Claude, one of the designers for Rayman Origins and Rayman Legends. Splash Team also worked together with speedrunners when creating the game, making this one super fun to watch in motion as well as to play. You are to check it out for yourself if you have an inkling of interest. Number 9, pixel art and precision platforming are a perfect match, and not just because of all the P alliteration. The next game on our list certainly proves this. Sunblaze is a notoriously challenging but adorable platforming adventure featuring Josie, our young protagonist who gets herself stuck in a superhero training simulator full of lasers, spikes, puzzles, and enemies. Dying is pretty much a guarantee as you learn the ever-changing level designs and challenges. Feeling a bit intimidated already? Don't get yourself too worked up. Sunblaze does offer accessibility options and frequent checkpoints, so you won't find yourself losing too much progress. While it's difficult not to draw comparisons to other pixel art titles in this genre, Sunblaze does enough to stand out on its own, and perhaps most importantly, features a feline sidekick. Number 8, indie devs love stringing a bunch of letters together and calling it a title, don't they? Bzzz. is coming in at number 8, and I suppose the naming makes sense considering you're controlling an AI robot named ZX8000. I don't think it's controversial to say that smooth platforming and overall flow are the most important aspects of any precision platformer, and BZZZT has those smooth moves to keep even the pickiest of platform lovers happy. This project comes from a solo dev, which is pretty impressive enough on its own, but when you factor in multiple difficulty options, polished pixely visuals, and a fair level of challenge for all, you won't want to miss this one, even if you can't pronounce it. Bzzz. Let's head over to number 7. Well, I guess this is the pixel art portion of the video because Sanabi falls right into that category quite gracefully. Sanabi's protagonist is a retired veteran with a chain hook arm that serves as both a weapon and a grappling hook. Corrupt organizations, a citywide blackout, mysterious disappearances, and a cute but talkative hacker? This game has it all, with a heavy emphasis on the intriguing storyline. It's certainly not easy to master the chain hook mechanic, but experiencing the immersive story and gorgeous pixel art backdrops makes it all worth it. Number 6, Edmund McMillen should be a name you recognize by now, if only for the infamous Binding of Isaac or Super Meat Boy. It's pretty tough to find someone who isn't at least somewhat familiar with his edgy humor and grotesque visual style, and you probably already either love it or hate it. But did you ever play his 2017 precision platformer, The End is Nigh? Still edgy, but maybe a bit less visually jarring than some of his other titles, this 2D adventure platformer puts you in control of a shapeless blob known as Ash as he survives the end of the world by jumping and platforming his way through bleak and decaying environments while collecting tumors. Okay, I guess it's just as disturbing as the other games, and I wouldn't have it any other way. There are over 600 levels in this one with collectibles and achievements galore. I just don't hear it talked about nearly as much as his other works, and I think a shout out was in order here. At number 5, while we're on the subject of the strange and unusual, Sockventure is a game you probably never knew you needed. I know what you're thinking, and yes, this is an adventure game about finding socks that went missing from the washing machine. It may sound like a pretty mundane task, but there's nothing mundane about these 200 plus challenging levels through 7 chapters. I think it can be pretty easy to underestimate a game with a silly or juvenile sounding premise like a kid teaming up with a superhero to find lost socks, but don't let the silliness lull you into a false sense of security. There is still a hefty helping of challenge here. Smooth and silky gameplay makes things fun instead of frustrating, though you will still take your fair share of deaths. Check it out if this one sounds like a match. Next, how about a 3D precision platformer to mix things up a bit? Super Sami Roll is at number 4, and it's an adorable and nostalgic title with fast and fluid momentum-based gameplay. The titular character Sami is trying to rescue his friend Vera from the evil clutches of Albert VII. He also sounds like he's swearing at you constantly, which hey, I get it, Sami. If you were a fan of the Super Monkey Ball series, you'll fall in love with Super Sami Roll. I was shocked how well it played with great controls, fun 16-bit style cutscenes, and even a cute story. The simplicity of it all makes it special, accessible, and entertaining for all ages. It even has a multiplayer mode that can be unlocked. Rolling from one end to another is a blast, and there are even optional collectibles. Oh, and you can of course use your tongue. I just love this game. Number 3 is high-stakes platforming with an absurd storyline more your thing? Well then 2019's punishingly challenging Jump King might be for you. What propels you to scale the peaks of this tower, you ask? A smoking hot babe, of course. No, really, that's what the game tells you. One wrong move and you're in for a long fall, so timing your jumps and using the right amount of power is going to be essential to your success. This is definitely one of those games that you will hate to love because of how difficult it is, especially for a title with such simple mechanics. It's only jumping after all. In addition to the base game, there were also 2 free expansions that were released for even more content, and if you still can't get enough Jump King, it appears a follow-up was announced last year called Jump King Quest, which will implement combat into the challenging platforming. There is already a listing up on Steam, so wishlist it if you dare, and be sure to add Jump King to your collection. So maybe there weren't a ton of positives to take away from 2020, but at least Levelhead Platformer Maker was one of them. Play as an employee of a delivery company, tasked with training a delivery robot. And trust me, you really have to put this little guy through the ringer. This isn't just your standard precision platformer, as in addition to its campaign with 90 plus levels, Levelhead also includes a full level editor to let your creativity run wild, and tons of curated user-generated content for never-ending challenge. Best of all, Levelhead is cross-platform, can be enjoyed with 1 to 4 players, and even has couch co-op, so the possibilities to share in joy and frustration are nearly endless. I definitely feel like there is a distinct lack of multiplayer precision platformers, and this one certainly scratched that itch with innovative mechanics and tons of content. And number 1, thank you so much for making it through another list with us. We appreciate you greatly. We're gonna go with Remnants of Nazith here, a fast-paced 2D platforming adventure with a grappling hook. When I tell you this game is fast, I mean really fast. Swinging from platform to platform as Keira, you can almost feel the wind in your hair as you accelerate faster and faster with the momentum you gain. Keira is attempting to destroy the remnants of, you guessed it, Nazith, a dragon whose soul shares his body in an attempt to save the world from its corruption. Sounds a little bit like the Lord of the Rings to me, but that can't possibly be a bad thing. Remnants of Nazith features leaderboards, ghost races, as well as a speedrun mode if you have a true need for speed. There's a really nice contrast between the bleak backgrounds and the neon highlights of your grapple hook that make this title pretty easy on the eyes. It's still not for the faint of heart, but definitely worth a try if you gotta go fast. And that's gonna do it for this list, folks. I hope you didn't get secondhand frustration just thinking about these titles. Let us know in the comments below which of these games you've played and any other awesome precision platformers that may have flown under the radar. Before you go, don't forget to check out what's happening over at patreon.com/idreamofindiegames. You'll gain early and ad-free content, an exclusive podcast, Discord access, and even free games depending on the tier. Your new indie gaming community is waiting for you. And once again, a very special thank you to Red Art Games for sponsoring this video. Please be sure to head down to the description box below and grab a copy of Jubilee today. It's another great precision platformer. So once again, thank you Red Art Games, and we will see you here at I Dream of Indie Games for more indie gaming content.